Good morning, children, and welcome to Thursday's English lesson. That is all about our unit on non-chronological reports or information texts, as I've been referring to them as this week, which is all about writing to inform the reader and relay information to a reader. Today's I Can is to use organisational devices to guide the reader, and we'll come on to that in a little while. So, we are learning how to write information texts and how we can provide information to our reader in a formal, controlled manner. On Tuesday, we looked at the structure and the features of an information text and how to write an opening paragraph. So if you remember, we looked at our Waggle, which is all to do with the planet Mars, how that was structured, some of the features that are used, the formal language, the formal tone, the precise use of punctuation, the use of parenthesis to add information or to speak to the reader. And we also practice writing an opening paragraph. And what we've been doing is writing about Earth, because we know about Earth, it's our planet, to practice our skills. Today is our final skills session, because yesterday what we did was we looked at how to form a paragraph of information around a specific theme. So if you remember, we looked at like the temperature and landscape on a planet. So we looked at the Waggle, which is all to do with Mars. And what the landscape is like on Mars, and what the temperature is like on Mars. Then we did the same sort of thing. We practiced doing that to do with Earth. Now today's lesson, so in terms of your skills that you have, you know how to write, you know the structure of an information text, you know how to write the opening paragraph, you know how to form a paragraph around a specific theme. So the final lesson we're going to do, to do with the skills as such, is we're going to look at how to write a paragraph that gives you information about specific landmarks using organisational devices to support the layout. By organisational devices, this sounds very clever, but essentially what I mean is to use bullet points, just to give some information in a slightly different way, so it looks more appealing to the reader and is easier to follow. Just to recap, our Waggle we've been using all the way through. This is Mars. We've then been practicing our skills to do with information text using Earth. Tomorrow, after this final lesson, tomorrow we're going to start, we'll look at our planet, our final planet for our final piece, because we're looking at fictional planets from a movie, and we're going to do our final piece from Friday all the way through into next week, and we'll publish it as an amazing piece. So this is our final lesson, learning the skills of how to write an information text. Right, let's have a look at my Waggle. And what I'm referring to here is the specific section where it uses organisational devices such as bullet points to organise the writing in a slightly more easy to read way for the reader. So it says special places. Were it possible to breathe on Mars, there are some specific landmarks you may want to visit. And then it uses a colon to introduce those landmarks. And then using bullet points slightly indented, we've got a bullet point with the name of the place and then a dash. It says the polar ice caps. Mars's polar ice caps are made of frozen carbon dioxide, which turns to gas in the summer. Relative clause there. When this happens, large geysers of carbon dioxide and dust erupt from the surface. Don't forget your camera. Now that final bit there, that's slightly more informal, isn't it? Because this part is all about, it's kind of a little bit like an advertising piece. So whilst we've had this very informative piece all the way through, this part's kind of giving you a bit of a little snippet as to different places you could go to, and it's got a slightly more informal tone, a bit like a persuasive piece like we've done in the past, like don't forget your camera, trying to hook you in a bit. So you've got this slight shift in formality here from very formal to slightly informal there. Olympic Mons. Be sure to visit Darcis, the volcanic plateau in the planet's western hemisphere. Here you will find 3 huge volcanoes, including Olympic Mons, the biggest volcano in the solar system. It's almost as tall as 3 Mount Everests. And again here, the slightly more informal tone with the exclamation mark, that's done inside brackets. That's a way of speaking to the reader through the brackets. Val Marineris. If you like hiking and think that the Grand Canyon is a bit too crowded, then why not visit the Valle Marineris? The system of canyons is over 4,000 kilometers, 2,500 miles long. Now, I really like this on the Waggle because it's the same sort of thing as before. We've got a subheading at the top, underline special places, and then it introduces 3 landmarks you can go and see, and the use of bullet points and dashes to introduce each one with a little snippet summary for each one is a really effective way of laying out the writing, and that refers back to the I can use organisational devices to guide the reader. Now, key success used today. The intent of the author, well, again, it's to provide information, isn't it? That's what we're doing all the way through. And this time it's about special places to visit. And I've put a little dash there. They are almost trying to persuade you to go there. So there's a slightly persuasive tone, which we've done a lot of persuasive writing in the past when we did about the Maldives and when we did about the toy writing. Bullet points are used for the organisation. There is always technical language, so because this is a scientific non-fiction text or a geographical scientific non-fiction text, there's lots of sort of scientific vocabulary such as carbon dioxide, large geysers, Western Hemisphere, volcanic plateau. But there's also some persuasive phrases in this one as well. So be sure to visit. Don't forget your camera. It's almost as tall as 3 Mount Everest. So it's a sort of that slightly exaggerated tone to hook you in a bit. Brackets for parentheses to add detail, either to add a fact or maybe to speak to the reader directly in an informal tone. And there's some subordinate conjunctions used as well. We've got if used and when's used. When this happens, if you like hiking. So just give you slightly different sentence openers there. And then conjunctions just and as well, which all of those words make sentences slightly longer that you learned about in years 3 and 4. Now, in terms of your task today, what I'd like you to do is to write a paragraph about some special landmarks to visit on Earth. And I want you to try and use the bullet point structure used above. That's the I can stage, to learn how to use this structure. So when we come to writing our final piece, all about this special planet, you'll be able to write a paragraph written in this sort of style. But what I want you to do is pick 3 special landmarks. Well, there's many landmarks all around the world. I mean, we're doing a non-fiction text here. We're practicing our skills for a non-fiction text based on the world, based on Earth. So what I thought would be really nice for this was that there's actually something called the 7 wonders of the world. They're buildings or places that are particularly special, that are listed as the 7 wonders of the world. And I thought we could use those, and you could pick your own ones from those 7 to be as your special landmarks that you kind of write a little summary about in the same sort of structure as this one here. So I'm just going to show you the document that you can use to look at to learn all about the 7 wonders of the world. So on Teams, I've put a document in there called 7 Wonders of the World, and what it does is it's a little bit of it's from the internet I found, from the Kids Encyclopedia. It's a brief snippets of information about each of the 7 wonders. Now you'll recognise the Great Pyramid of Giza, I'm sure, from when you've done Egyptian time. That is one of the 7 wonders. What I'd like you to do first of all is I want you to read through the information, to have a read for yourself, read through the facts, and I want you to choose 3 that you want to write about in your piece. So if you want to do that now, you could pause the video now and start having a look through, or if you want to wait till I've given all the instructions and have a look later, that's also fine. But if you want to have a look through now, please feel free to pause it now. Okay, so the 7 wonders of the world are on here. We've got the Great Pyramid of Giza. We've got the Great Wall of China is seen as another wonder of the world, and there's some information about the Great Wall of China there. We have Petra, which is in Jordan. I'm sure you've seen these sort of pictures before of like special places. That's Petra. It's like a sort of a city built into the wall. An amazing place. The Colosseum in Rome, I'm sure many of you recognise that. That's another 7 wonders of the world. Chichen Itza is one, which is a large Mayan city. If you've done the Mayan periods, you'll have learned about that one. Machu Picchu in Peru is an incredible place there. You can see the picture. And then 2 more. You've got the Taj Mahal in India. Many of you recognise that one, a beautiful historic building. And then finally, the Christ the Redeemer statue, which is in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, the humongous statue. Actually says that it's 30 meters tall, of Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. Now, they are the 7 wonders of the world. Now, if I was doing a non-fiction text, an information text, a non-chronological report about Earth, and I wanted to give some landscapes that you've got to visit on Earth, I think they're a really good choice from those ones there. So what I need you to do is choose 3. Now, on your scaffold sheet today, what I've put for you is the Waggle that we looked at earlier, to with Mars. We've got the keys to success, so these are the things I want you to try and include. And then the task, which is to write a paragraph about some special places to visit on Earth, and trying to use the bullet point structure. Your best scaffold for today is to refer to the example 1. That's how to set it out. So that's your scaffold, really. And then what you need to do is pick 3 special ones and write summary information about them using the structure. So I'm going to have a go at doing that now. So again, we need a subheading for this. It says special places. I'm going to slightly different. I'm going for special landmarks to visit on Earth. Exclamation mark. Okay. Right. So that's an organisational device. A subheading is a way of organising the writing. So it's an important one. So Earth is full of many wondrous sights. Here are just a selection of places you might want to visit. Excellent, colon there. So again, that clause, that first clause, that's a sentence in its own right. Earth is full of many wondrous sights. Now I've used a semicolon because this clause links to it. Here are just a selection of places you might want to visit, and then that punctuation, talking about precise punctuation, the colon is going to introduce the list of things. And then what you do is put your bullet points in place. So I'm going to pick one of my 7 places off the note sheets, what I'm interested in. And remember, if you're working from home, I would go and get some extra information, use the internet on the search browser and find some more facts about. If you type in like Great Wall of China facts for kids, there's loads comes up, so you can get some more information if you want. But what you need to try and do is write a mini little snippet about each place, just to give the reader some information. So we'll go for, that's how it's written here, polar ice caps, and there's some information there. So I'm going to go for the Taj Mahal, and I've got that sheet, that 7 ones were written out in front of me. Here I've got printed out, but you could always just look at it on screen. So I'm going to try and make it sound quite persuasive. You have got to visit the Taj Mahal. Now I'm thinking my range of punctuation. I'm going to go for a colon here, and I'll explain why in a second. It is a building like no other. You think what I've done there, you've got to visit the Taj Mahal, that's a sentence in its own right, but then I've gone, it is a building like no other. If I think of the cheap way of thinking about it, if you replace the word because, you can use a colon. You've got to visit the Taj Mahal because it's a building like no other. You've got to visit the Taj Mahal, colon, it is a building like no other. It's a very fancy year 6 skill, the colon. Built, so I'm looking at the information, I'm going to try and form my own sentences and summarise the key information. So it's built by the Mughal King Shah Jahan in memory of, and I'm going to change some of this around, of his wife. I'm going to say his 3rd wife, because it tells me it's 3rd wife. I'm going to put this in brackets, what the 3rd wife's name is. I'm always trying in this piece and non to show off my skills of punctuation. Built by the Mughal King Shah Jahan in memory of his 3rd wife, Mumtaz Mahal. Now some children make a mistake here and they go full stop. Well, it's not a sentence, it doesn't make sense yet, that's just a sentence opener. It's built by him, comma, this, I'm going to say the building, I'm using an adjective, picturesque building, because it is a picturesque building, is completely symmetrical from all 4 sides. Now I'm using exclamation mark because my intention as a reader is to get the reader excited here, because it's quite an exciting place. Then I'm going to use situated in the city of, it tells me it's in Agra in India. Again, that's just a sentence opener, it's not a full stop, it's a sentence opener. Situated in, keep missing out little words here, the city of Agra, India, comma, the Taj Mahal, capital letters for the place, is believed to be one of the most attractive buildings ever created. And use conjunction and is a huge tourist attraction. By just using that conjunction and, I've made that sentence quite long. I've got a sentence open at the start there, then that clause there, and then and as well to make it a little bit longer. Now I want to appeal to the reader a bit. Make sure you pack a camera. I can use a colon again here because, use colon, make sure you pack a camera. This is a memory you will cherish forever. Exclamation mark. I tell you what, you don't half look very clever when you use colons and things like that, but actually they're really easy to use. Make sure you pack a camera, colon, this is a memory you'll cherish forever. That bit links back to that bit, and it seems a very fancy skill to want to show off. Right, then I choose a different one, a new bullet point underneath, Chichen Itza. Now I'm going to speak a bit about what I would do here is I'd look at my information on Chichen Itza. If you've got the ability to look at home to find out some more about Chichen Itza, please do. But most of the information you'll need to be within there. Obviously, what you're doing is a bit of a read skill. You're summarising the key information because you don't need all of that. I don't just want you to copy that out. I want you to write it in your own words and make it sound quite persuasive and exciting, and use some of our clever vocabulary as well. So Chichen Itza is a large Mayan city, which is most famous for its large step pyramid. That's what it calls it, a step pyramid named El Castillo, because it tells me on there that's what the name of it is. It's a step pyramid called El Castillo. Now I've used the word large twice. Let's see if we can find a synonym. Enormous. It's quite a nice enormous step pyramid. Like massive doesn't sound very good. Gargantuan's too big. I think enormous is good because it's making clever word choices. I don't always like starting sentences with the, but I will here. The pyramids, brackets El Castillo. So you can use brackets there. It's dedicated to, and it tells me it's dedicated to, and I've got to check the spelling carefully. Kultan, and it says that's the plumed serpent. You could, if you wanted to research a bit about that, you could do. That's quite a simple sentence, but I've used brackets twice quite effectively. But this time I don't want to. I want to use a sentence, but I'm going to go for incredibly, but I've used that a lot already. Extraordinarily, comma. It's the front of verbal on manner. Extraordinary, comma. I want to say about the shadow because it tells me about a shadow on it. At certain points of the year, comma, as the sun hits the side of the building. That's actually 3 openers there. Extraordinarily is the fronted manner of verbal. Time opener at certain points of the year, and then as is subordinate conjunction. As the sun hits the side of the building. Don't put full stop because that's not a sentence yet. It's just open the sentence. Then it's something about a snake-like shadow is formed. Let me say a phenomenal. Let's use some good language. Some more exaggerated vocabulary. A phenomenal snake-like shadow is formed along the steps. You have to see it to believe it. So here you can see, whilst we've been writing very formal language, when we practice doing our introduction, when we practice doing our paragraph all about the geography of the land, this is a really nice way of doing a final paragraph that's slightly more persuasive, slightly less formal, not massively informal, but slightly less formal in terms of using exclamation marks occasionally to show how amazing Earth is. And there's 2 I've done there. You can see I've summarised the key information. You could, if you want to think about it, you could sort of bold that or underline it in some way if you wanted to, but you don't need to do that. But it's just very clearly set out in the way it's been structured here. An introductory line, the colon to introduce the bullet points, the bullet points setting out the information with the name of it, and then a dash, capital letter after the dash, and then I'd like you to do one more as well. Whatever you did, maybe you did the Colosseum. That's nice, well, Colosseum, like that. Okay, and do one like that. As a stretch, guys, what I'd like you to do, a bit like you've done all the way through this week, could you, so once you've done on Earth, do you want to try, this way you could use your imagination a bit, for this imaginary planet you've just made up, try and make up some special landmarks, just make them up. This is a chance to be really creative, like almost like fiction writing. And could you write a similar sort of style one, but for an imaginary planet with imaginary landmarks? So that's a chance to apply your skills and be really creative and adapt your writing. That's a bit of a stretch you could have a go at. What you must do, of course, to finish your lesson, to review your lesson, is to go back through and check against the key success. Have I used bullet points? Have I used them correctly? Yes, I have. Very well structured. Some would ask, can you drop a line? You could do. That also looks very structured. I actually like it just like this for this one. That's just personal taste, really. Have I used technical language? I've used language specific to the piece, so I have used technical language by talking about Chichen Itza, say it's the Mayan city, say it's an enormous step pyramid. That's language that's specific to the feature. Persuasive phrases, I did try and include some of those because I've done them here. Like, you have to see it to believe it. Make sure you pack a camera. This is a memory you will cherish forever. It's a good way to finish the little summary of the place as a little persuasive phrase. Brackets for parenthesis. Definitely use brackets a few times to add extra information. And I did use some subordinate conjunctions such as and which, and so on. What I would say is what I did beyond those keys to success there is a bit of a stretch, is to really try and be adventurous with your punctuation, but also precise with your punctuation. Try and use a colon like I did today, and see, well, not just to introduce the list of things, but see if you can use it to replace because. All right, on that, guys, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm sure you're doing an amazing job of this. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Maybe try and choose some different ones. And please feel free to gather some more facts about these amazing landmarks. It's quite an interesting lesson because you learn a bit about the 7 wonders of the world at the same time. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.